All right, I'm gonna try something. So I've been posting a lot of sketches, like I've said in a previous video, and I've been doing like little experiment drawings as well. And one thing that I like to do whenever I see a bit of a pattern is to try to like create content that kind of attaches itself to that pattern in some way. Again, I draw a lot of stuff and make a lot of content that I genuinely enjoy making. I make a lot of really weird stuff, and then I make really cool stuff, and then I make stuff that's more stylized. My favorite style is actually stylized. I love stylized artwork a lot to engage in. It's like one of my favorite types of content to indulge in. But whenever it becomes like something that I just draw, I end up drawing what you're seeing in front of you, more of this type of content. And so part of me was doing that this week. I was just like, oh, let's just draw more of this because two of the projects that I'm working on are not this at all. They are absolutely, um, they are absolutely more stylized, which I'm very grateful for. But as a product like of being who I am as an artist, I tend to then make content that is the opposite of that for my own sake. So, what is it that I am going to try to investigate? A couple things. I I know I know a few things to be true. Typically, one is that people like ideas. Genuinely, ideas do really well. Uh, all things considered. And so, whenever I post stuff that are more idea driven, um, I think yeah, just people just generally are more in tune with it, and that makes a lot of sense. Because again, not everybody is an artist's artist, you know, like myself. Like I make a lot of art that I know speaks to other art folk, and so it's really interesting to me that um, when I make something that's less about that and more about um, cool ideas, it just reminds me of like, oh yeah, like there's a lot of people who just indulge and engage with content because it's interesting. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do a rough sketch of like a cool idea, perhaps, something that I think is a cool idea, some sort of witch that has maybe some sort of inscribed book nailed to their body, and just by nature of their craft, they are also maybe silenced and mostly decapitated, or not decapitated, mostly like become more skull like. I'm gonna do this painting, okay? And what I'm going to do shortly after this is I am going to do another painting following this one, where I'm not going to worry so much about the idea. I'm just going to draw something incredibly abstract that has no attachment to it in any meaningful way. There's no larger narrative, but I'm going to paint it really well, and that obviously hits a different vector of audiences, you know. And I already know a lot of stuff of like value that comes from my work is when I combine these two premises. I think a lot of my color paintings hit mostly the art vibe folks that follow my work, people who love art for the sake of art. And so when they see something like that, it feels really cool and it has a lot of interest to it. But I'm going to try to push something where it's like, okay, this is alluding to a lot here, but um, I'm going to make it mostly about the idea. Yeah. I'm trying to think what he can have in his hand. What could be cool. Yeah. And one of the things that tends to interest me is what makes a lot of artwork feel really interesting that isn't well drawn. I think a lot of people that are in this business um, tend to really get drawn in on things that are well executed, like my peers, and maybe some of you even. But sometimes when you have just like a really cool idea and you don't necessarily execute it to the best of your ability, but it's communicating a fascinating idea. Ooh, what if I put some nails? And then let's do something that feels like they etched into the skull, this type of stuff. And then since I don't have much space here, I want to try to use it wisely. Yeah, just spikes. This dude is sewing himself together with spikes. Yeah, maybe if I move this over and apply some sort of weapon, it feels like I should give more space then. Yeah, let's do that. And so I think a lot of times, a lot of art can just be cool. Like it has almost nothing to do with the way that it's executed entirely. The execution helps to convey the idea, right? But the idea is cool. It's like a cool idea. Like I wonder if I could put like another like pieces of paper that are just stapled onto his arm. You know? Oh, it would be cool if they were a little bit more draped. I think that would sell this kind of premise even further. And this is why you see a lot of designers usually sketch and draw versus kind of my approach that you see me do a lot in my YouTube videos of just painting. And whenever I work for clients, I almost always sketch in some way, or I do something really well or clear thumbnails that are well developed so that people can take a look at them and understand what the hell they're looking at. But it's still just a tool to find kind of their ideas. But whenever I'm just doing personal work, I'm almost never trying to impress anybody. I'm just trying to learn and I'm trying to make stuff. I saw a couple quotes that I think have been reading my mind about just my approach of making art. I put like this little horror video out on my Instagram just to see how that went. And in my mind, it was literally I was messing with that tool I just talked about the other day when I was feeling sick, um, which is TuneSquid. Like I really liked the software, and I've just been messing with it. I started drawing in it, and I was like, oh, I like the way it feels to draw on this too. And then I just started animating in it, and then I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna make a little short. So then I just spent like 30 minutes today, kind of editing it, making it a little bit more, um, a little bit more interesting than just like a really rough sketch that I did, you know? And yeah, I'm curious to see how it does. And it looks like it's just doing pretty basic, nothing crazy. But I would be shocked if it blew up, you know? I would be very shocked because I don't know what I didn't do anything interesting, highly interesting. But it was really cool to do. It was really fun to do. And I did like another video the other day about like a fake tutorial. And that was fun. But to me, it's like that's these experiments. I just try stuff out like often. And as a result, uh, people tell me what they feel about it via positive reinforcement or not. Okay, so I spent about 10 minutes on this. Yeah, let's do a couple more things actually before we call it a wrap. Okay. Let's add a couple bits more detail. Yeah, let's add a bit more strong shadow shapes. Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, this one looks like there's like another book sticking out of his body. It's like almost jammed into his side, but might be too much information. Starts to get a little cluttered. Anyway, um, yeah, this might be too much too. Let me just get rid of this. Actually, I'm okay with it. All right, but let's do some spiciness. Let's add some spice. Yeah, this is not as spicy as I want it to be. I like this noise brush, but I'm also like trying to get just raw splatters here. And I know I have it. I'm just unsure where I put it. Yeah, actually, I might not have it very obviously somewhere. But anyway, let me just do this then. Let me just use something a little bit more uh, in your face to add just a bit of like texture to this. Yeah, just add a little bit more, and then the like a hatch brush would be nice. Okay, this will be cool. Just add more stringiness. Okay. Cool. Yeah, and so again, this is kind of really roughly sketched. It's this idea of like this guy's got like papers etched on him and stapled on his arm, on his shoulder. He's got like a book essentially like staked onto his arm. It's got like more stakes hanging from his fingers. He's got potentially a knife. It's all impressioned. Feels cooler left to right. Okay, so let's go ahead and just group this together. And then let's now just do a completely abstract painting. And to keep it fair, I'm not going to use any color of any kind, just all black and white. And this is also one of my favorite approaches. You can tell that when I was trying to do the other one, I was actually like thinking. I was trying to think a little bit more how I can make it cool. And in this image, I'm just going to paint, and I'm going to try to avoid making it have a lot going for it. But when it comes to just designing, I am usually not talking and doing a YouTube video or doing a lecture or tutorial or anything. So what ends up happening is that I am also allowed to think during the process. But this approach of just like kind of not really thinking too much is an impressive feat to watch when you're hanging out and watching a tutorial or something like this. But it's not nearly as useful to me whenever I do any kind of production work. Because the production work, I need to be able to pay attention to what is being done. And sometimes I'll see something, and then I'll like kind of manifest it into place. I'll say, oh, okay, I see like a little bit of how the armor looks here. So let me just kind of double down on that. But I'm not trying to make a cool looking character. I'm letting my gut just drive that a little bit. And if I am trying to make a cool looking character, it's a bit of both looking at what I just made, taking the prompt that I'm giving myself and the ideas that I've given myself, and then start to create those um, ideas via the way I paint and draw. But because I'm not trying to do that, this image, let's just, and I'm going to focus almost primarily on cool factor here. Sorry, like a really cool painting. I'm not going to worry too much about some of the details and design. There are some stuff though that I've done designs for them so often, like including like dark fantasy stuff. But like I've done lots of horror. I've done lots of like robotic stuff and sci-fi things. I've done like a lot of fantasy stuff. So like that, I think I can almost not talk and illustrate because I've just done so much. And that goes to show back to kind of this idea that I always tell people of like studying and practicing. Like that's all you have to do. I have some mentorship starting this week, and this is for those of you who are probably in that mentorship or in my future mentorships. Be prepared for me to say that. You're going to probably be in there today for those of you who are taking it and be like, yeah. You already told me this, but you're gonna understand it now in the context of your own work, right? Because I find that a lot of people just do not study and practice and train nearly as often as they ought to, and as a result, they just start to run into a lot of issues, you know, because they think that every moment of their process has to be incredibly thoughtful, and that if they can't come up with the idea right on the spot, that there's something wrong with them. Because they see something like this, they see that I've just kind of almost pulled this out of my ass, a couple of images, except for the first one where I did put some thought. But if it's not, if I can't just do this, then I'm doing something wrong. It's like no. I'm able to do these things because I've done all the wrong things already. I've already spent years drawing wrong. I have a buddy right now, helping him out through some stuff, and one of the first things that we're doing is just showing up, drawing every single day, a few drawings. And as time goes on, I am going to give you a little bit more of a challenge. But at the end of the day, the goal is, are you fucking showing up? Are you drawing? Are you doing the thing? You know? And right now, it's going well, because focus, I feel, is one of the biggest challenges for this individual. Just sitting still and being focused. I have another buddy, a student of mine, who I put through the same gauntlet. And yeah, it's surprising because like they're like, yeah, I get it. It's really simple. But then when you start to put just even a bit of more pressure, people start to fold. And so for me, it's like I'm able to pull this off effortlessly because I genuinely have been painting and drawing pretty consistently for the last 20 years, you know? And I will say that on top of all that, on top of doing like these drawings, I've worked on really big projects where I learned a lot, you know? I would say in like the first 5 years of my career, I am as good as I am now. I'm definitely a little better here and there. I have a lot more versatility. This for sure. Like I am more versatile than I once was in the past. I used to have to do a lot more research for certain styles, but now it's pretty interesting how quickly I can adapt to any given style these days. But I think again, it's just chapters of training. I've just been doing this for so freaking long. And so because of all this, I think that people tend to, people tend to look at a video here and there, and they misinterpret this type of skill as something that it should also be this effortless, even if you know consciously that that's not the case, like I know some people consciously are aware of this, or like there's, of course, it's going to take some time. But as you show up to work and start to do the stuff, many of you guys can also relate to this feeling of like, it feels like it's just, you're so fucking far away from it. And the reality is you're not, you know? So like, I'm talking about what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to experiment. I'm trying to see what I can try to create like a new paradigm of content that I make that is even more low effort. Because I spend a lot of high effort already on work, you know? And part of the goal of my YouTube channel is to make it so low resistance so I can just show up. And I've been doing it, and I've been really happy with it. There is this general rule: if you could do something for 90 days, then it becomes a habit. And I think I've already made it a habit. I already feel like, okay, yeah, I can do something today. You know, I already feel pretty good about it. But I do believe that the 90-day mark, I will feel even more entrenched on trying to make content. But one of my goals is, okay, I'm like spending 30 minutes, no more than an hour, every once in a while on a blue moon or on a big old rant. I might spend like an entire hour talking and chatting. But I have a suspicion of making the certain type of content that will demonstrate something that I've always known to be true. It's already happening, but I want to kind of double down on this premise, which is the more you show up and show content, the more it will be, you know, leveraged and pushed and compounded. This has been true almost consistently throughout my entire career. But finding what that is usually what's hard, and usually staying committed to that thing that you've made that is of value becomes just as hard, sometimes even harder. And so to me, it's like, okay, let me fuck around and find out with some of this stuff, you know? Let me see if I can truly make certain type of content at a rapid pace. I already can tell like the colored images do credible. And so I kind of want to see what else is out there, so that I can just kind of spread the love, because I don't want to just do only one type of content, because if this is my personal agenda, my YouTube, then I don't really care to hit a specific genre of art. I just want to keep making a lot of videos. And just talking and then explaining how I feel certain days and talk about the industry in some other instances. Like a lot of stuff's been happening with, for instance, the global economics with Donald Trump and all his tariffs. And there are actually meaningful ramifications in the game industry because of this. I think a lot of the digital distribution might be totally fine, but a lot of the physical distribution, like a lot of analog games, board games, and card games, for instance, are absolutely going to get rocked by this. There's some other stuff that I wanted to kind of talk about, even within the game industry, just hardware, right, and stuff like this. There might be a lot of you that almost commercially buy many and all things digital, like your games or your movies or whatever. But there is still costs to run servers. There's still costs to some distribution there that are behind the scenes. Just because it's all digital for you doesn't mean that it's not being physically applied somewhere else, if that makes sense. And then there's also just the consequence of people that don't normally have access to that, and that like there's not everybody can just easily get digital goods, you know? Like I live in a country where I know that this is a fact, and this is not just the only developing country that purchases lots of video games and movies, you know? And so there is a potential challenge there, and I want to kind of prepare people for what I think is the best strategies, my hunches, and again, just my best guesses, and that's all they will be. It's just guesses. Okay, I gotta stop here. I'm gonna keep making this much cooler the more I paint on it. Okay, so there's this pure idea. Ooh, let me try something. I don't want to sabotage this experiment, but I now that I see this, I like it, and I'm like, I wonder if I can do something like this. Just hard red. It's always fun. See, I'm not talking because I'm thinking. Yeah. Oh man, I might need to leave this for the true experiment. Or maybe not. Maybe I can just get a hold of myself and just not do it. And only you, my YouTuber viewers, know what could have been. All right. I do like that there is some value though. So I wonder if let me do this and just see. Let's experiment with some values. And I have a couple other approaches I want to like do with this more sketchy approach, but I love the sketchy approach. And what I love about it too is it allows me to do more world building too. I have this idea for a couple projects that me and my buddy might work on, and I'm just really interested in even better and better workflows, so I can just really push this stuff out. Because again, I have a lot of suspicions of what the future holds, but we'll see. We shall see. Okay. Yeah, this might be okay. This isn't color. The color absolutely is devious. This might be all right though. This might not be too bonkers. But anyway, hope you guys appreciate the content. And yeah, I'm gonna put this out there on my Instagram. I'm gonna post them literally back to back. With this one being first and the other one second, and then I'm probably gonna do a couple more experiments throughout the rest of this week and next week. Because by end of this month, I am probably going to get cooked. I'm going to get super busy. And if I can find a process that's like really quick and dirty, but it's like has a lot of appeal, a lot of value, then that goes back to my low effort. Like I don't have to feel that I have to draw something always at a high level if I just don't have time, you know? And again, this is a strategy to both find something that is fun to draw, and I love to draw. Like this was incredibly fun to draw, but also says a lot about, or sorry, also allows me access to this new stuff to be able to be, I can crank this out in like 15, 20 minutes. And if I talk longer, I talk longer, but like I don't need to be stressing, you know? And that way I can just like try to make these morning rituals. I think that's what's going to happen by the end of this month. You're going to see morning videos. I'm going to try to probably time them too. So then it's going to be very consistent, like every time on this dot. That's the only way, because I'm going to get a little bit busier. There was a bit of a lull because I was getting off of some work, but I knew some work was coming. And now that work has just arrived. And so we're preparing for this. And so appreciate you guys though for showing up, talking with me in the comments. I love it. Thanks for sharing my videos. Some of you guys are also getting out there and drawing. Dude, that's so fucking awesome. I love seeing people's art. So if you do cool drawings, like feel free to share it with me. I'll share it if I think it's really good. If it's okay, I'll comment on it or I'll message you. Good job. But if it's really good, I'll share it so that way I can keep the cadence of like, look at all this awesome artwork that I keep finding online. I do keep finding a lot of great artwork. And that could be a good test for you to see if I think it passes the quality test, you know? But if I think it's pretty good, I probably will share it. If it's really good, I will absolutely fucking share it. You hear me? But yeah, either way, I'll still comment on it or like it, or maybe follow you back on the instas. I'm so in love with my Instagram right now. I mean, not like my Instagram profile. I mean like Instagram. Like I keep going there, and dude, it keeps showing me like where have all these great artists been? Like, have I truly just been clicking on all the clickbait, raunchy video content that they just send me, and I'm just like, okay, this is nice, and then I'm just like, I've got to get out of here because now I'm like on Instagram for like 30-40 minutes a day, which is like 10 times more than I did before. Literally, it was only there on like a few minutes, and then I bounced. But now I'm like swimming in all this beautiful art. That's why I kind of got inspired to draw like this. So anyway, appreciate you guys. Thanks for always checking in. Like, follow, subscribe, share with the folks. Help make this type of content more popular. I think we need more of this type of content out there. Anyway, cheers.